Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
I've known Mike Hamill and his parents for over 30 years, actually, in Colorado. So it's great to see him. It's good to be here. Today, we are going to discuss a coming attraction. You all are doing Bible studies of Genesis with Mr. Smith here, and we are going to discuss a very important person, a scion, actually, the founder of the Jews, Judah himself. So if you would please turn to Deuteronomy 21, verse 15 and 17. We're going to start with his father, Judah's father. Deuteronomy 21, verse 15, sorry. If a man hath two wives, one beloved and the other hated, and they have borne him children, both the beloved and the hated, and if the firstborn son be hers that is hated, verse 16, then it shall be when he maketh his sons to inherit that which he hath, that may not take the son of the beloved firstborn before the son of the hated, which indeed is the firstborn. And in verse 17 is my point. But he shall acknowledge, the word is also recognize, the son of the hated for the firstborn by giving him a double portion of all that he hath, or hath found to him, what is in his estate. For he is the beginning of his strength, and the right of the firstborn is his. Now we know that the man that had two wives, one was hated. The only time we have a reference to Leah is she was weak-eyed, and that she was hated. Snua is the word in Hebrew. So going back to Genesis chapter 38, we will spend the rest of the time here or thereabouts. I want you to think about Judah. Now the reason why I titled this, Went Down from Amongst His Brethren, is because that's how it starts in Genesis chapter 38. Now as it came to pass that Judah went down from his brethren. Now I brought a topographical map of the Holy Land. If you would like to look at it later, we won't be here for very long, but you can peruse it after services. And Hebron is actually 3,050 feet above sea level. Well, where Judah moved to in Canaan, Timnah, or close to those abouts, is actually around 800 feet. So is this a reference? I'm not going to answer this. You can think about it yourselves. Is this a reference to a physical going down from? Or is there something different? So we know the story. Judah marries a Canaanite woman. They have three sons together, okay? And in those three sons, Onan, and Shelah. Is wicked. God kills him. We know this because the narrator tells us this. Judah is not privy to this. Onan does unspeakable acts, and God slays him also. So both and Onan are dead. Judah does not want to give Shelah to the wives of and Onan. Her name is Tamar. And he does not want to give her to him. So he says, go back to your father's house. Wait. And so years have gone by, and Shelah grows up. Well, Judah, as you know, becomes a widower. His wife dies, but he still finds comfort. And that is mentioned, I believe, in chapter 38, verse 10. So Judah is content with being a widower. However, he has a sheep shearing festival in Timnah, and Tamar sees that she has not been given the son that was promised to her by Judah, her father-in-law. So therefore, she hears that Judah is on his way. And let's pick it up. If you have a Bible, please follow along. If you look at 38, verse 14, sorry. And she put, that's her being Tamar, put on her widow's garments off from her and covered her with a veil, wrapped herself and sat in an open place. Crossroads, it's kind of debatable, but it's a crossroads. For she saw that Shelah was grown and not given to her. When Judah saw her, he thought her to be a harlot, a zonah. Now, this is kind of uncomfortable when you're talking about this in front of children, but literally this man chooses for himself to not follow what his parents have clearly set the example. His parents being Abram, his grandfather, and Isaac and Jacob. He has not followed the example. And therefore, it says, and he turned by the way, and he starts negotiating with her. Now, Judah is not around his family. Judah cannot be seen by his brothers. So this is where I take this personally. When in my travels in certain parts of the world, I have to take with me, and we all have to take with us, our character, our personality. What God has bestowed on us is what we know, what we should be doing. And that is a lesson that I hope we all take away from this story. So in this negotiation, this harlot, but she's not a harlot, she's his daughter-in-law, she negotiates and he asks her, well, what may I use your services? And she says, well, what will you give to me? And you have this negotiated part where Judah says, well, what do you want? And she asks for a goat. So he doesn't have a goat, but he's going to a sheep shearing festival. He says, well, I'll give it to you later. And he asks her, well, what do you want instead? And she says, give me your ring, your staff, and your signet. Now, in those days, in ancient days, if you had a ring and you sealed a document, you were royalty. And we know that Judah is the father of the kingly line of the Messiah. So this is part that he is giving up for this, I would have to say, wicked negotiation. He clearly knows what he should be doing, but he's not around his family. No one can see him. So therefore, he does what he wants. He gives her the signet ring, he gives her the staff, and he gives her the cord that went along with it. Picking up at verse 19, and she arose and went her way, and she laid aside the veil, which is what she wore to deceive Judah. And in verse 20, and Judah sent the kid, the goat, by the hand of his friend, the Adullamite, and to receive the pledge, to get back the ring, to get back what symbolized his authority, what made him a son of Jacob, who was a very prominent man in the area. But she was not there. And his friend asked, he goes, where was the harlot by the side of the way? And the people were saying there was no harlot. And there literally wasn't, because this woman, Tamar, was not a harlot, and she wasn't from that place. So his friend returns to Judah and says, well, there wasn't a harlot. And Judah makes this comment. He said, well, she can keep it, lest we be ashamed. In other versions, it says, lest it come to scandal. This is a scandal because this prominent man, Jacob, and obviously Isaac and Abraham before, they were prominent in this area of Hebron. So you can only imagine that we are given this story for what is about to happen next. So, and Judah, in verse 24, that would be Genesis 38, verse 24. And it came to pass about 3 months after Judah and Tamar were together, saying, Tamar, thy daughter-in-law, hath played the harlot, and also, behold, she is with child by whoredom. That is added in there. And Judah said, bring her forth, and let her be burnt. When she was brought forth, she sent to her father-in-law, saying, by this man, these, that would be the ring, the signet, and the staff. By these things, this man has made me with child. Discern, I pray. And we just read in Deuteronomy 21 the exact same word. Recognize. Do you recognize this? Now remember, back in Deuteronomy 21, God said that a man must recognize what belongs to him, his estate. These exact same words she is saying here, I pray thee that this staff, this signet, and this bracelet. And Judah acknowledged them. He did accept it, and this goes to his credit. Judah at any time could have said, I'm embarrassed here, we can keep it under the rug, and he could have clearly done the dishonorable thing, but he did not, to his credit. And he says so that she, meaning Tamar, hath been more righteous than I. So those two words that you saw, the Strong's numbers, that have to do with both here and in Deuteronomy 21. But actually, what I really want you to think about is we're going to go back to the story prior in Genesis chapter 37. How did Jacob get deceived by his sons? It was by a goat, if you recall. They killed the goat, smeared the blood on the coat, and sent it to their father Jacob. And they said the exact same word, which we will read right now. 37:32. Yes. 37:32. Sent to many coat of colors, and they brought it to their father, and they said, "This is a coat we have found. Recognize, Hatzerna, whether it be your son's coat or not." So you can only imagine the pain in Judah when he hears Tamar say the exact same words that he himself, with his brothers, deceived their father. Do you recognize this coat of many colors? We just happened to find it with all this blood on it. Don't know how it happened, but it is. So imagine a goat and a coat and a staff, but a goat and a coat. Jacob was pretty clever, pretty crafty, until he met his father-in-law, Laban. Laban was just as equal to the task as Jacob was. But now imagine, what did Jacob do to his father? He deceived Isaac with a goat and a coat. He killed the goat. He made the meal to make it taste like wild game that was used, and he put the goat skins on himself. This has come full circle, and we are reading what God has shared with us. So, in my conclusion, I would like for you to think about the discernment that when Judah went down from amongst his brethren, he was making a conscious choice to choose for himself what he wanted to do. And we must choose for ourselves to follow God even when no one is looking.